Okay, welcome to another in the Getting Started with version 12 series brought to you by BlueSky Technologies. Today we're going to go over and cover a device. What is a device? How do you configure it? What are some tweaks? What are some gotchas that may come up? And all of those things. So without further ado, I guess the first question to answer is what exactly is a device? Um, Put simply, a device is a place to store your data. A device can be the online device, the BlueSky online service. A device can be your, your local hard drive. Anything that you use to store data to when you're doing a backup is a device. A device is also something that you would restore data from when you're doing a restore. So a device can really be anything with the BlueSky software. You're not limited to it just being an online service. You can back up to a USB drive that you plug into your machine. You can back up across the network. Say you've got a NAS box, or say you have a file share on another computer. You can back up to that. You can also copy to a device. There's a lot of things that you can do, and a device is just basically anything that holds data. Now, the online device is kind of a critical device because that's how everything gets licensed. If you don't have an online device, then nothing's really going to work, because the online device is the key that gets you licensed and gives you access to the features that you're entitled to. So you have to have an online device, but then with that comes all of the other things that you can back up to that really make the BlueSky software a better option than some of our competitors. So now we're going to look at a screenshot, and I'm going to walk through how to set a device up, or the online device rather. When you first install the BlueSky client, the very first thing that's going to pop up when you open the program, or even after you install it, is the configure device. And this is where you're going to configure that online device to get started. In the name box, you can call this anything that you want. It doesn't really have any naming conventions that you have to stick with. I like to name it something um, that's going to indicate that it is the online device. You could call it C, but then it may look a lot like your C drive when you go to select it as a destination, and that could confuse things. So having this named, something like BlueSky Online or Online Device, can really differentiate it from other things on your computer. The server name or IP address, this should be filled in by default when you load the client, when the client loads. If for whatever reason you delete it or it gets corrupted, you can just retype the backup.blueskytechnologies.com, and you'll be in good shape. The username and password is just that. This is your BlueSky username and password, and I'll go ahead and type those in here. And once you type your username and password, it's a good idea to click on the test connection box so that we can see that the connection was successful. That basically goes out and makes sure that your internet connection is working, make sure your DNS is working, and it queries the server to make sure that your user ID and password is set up properly. If your user ID and password were not set up properly and you clicked on test connection, you may see a box like this, and if you click on cancel, it says the backup server does not have you configured as a valid user, and the connection test will fail. So if you don't get the test connection succeeded box, then you know something's going on, and feel free to give support a call. Once you get that checked out, click on OK. At this point, the backup client is going to get your license. It's going to update the license that you're entitled to with the different plugins and options and stuff. In order for you to see those and to take effect, it's a good idea to close the GUI and open it back up. Just close down the program and real quick open it back up. In most cases, you should not have to restart your computer. We have seen cases where we are uninstalling an older version and reinstalling the version 12 where it wants to do a server reboot or a computer reboot. The number of reboots required is a lot less than in future releases, so hopefully you won't have to reboot your computer. If something happens to a device and you need to recreate it, It's just a simple as creating it the first time. You select the Device tab, click on Add, Blue Sky, and you're right back to where you were. You can add another device, or you could replace a device that you already had. Now keep in mind that backup sets will use the device name to know where to back up data to. So it may give you some trouble if you rename. See, I've got a backup job here that is looking for device number 2. If I look at my devices, I do not have a device number 2. So what I would need to do is go into my backup job and select backup 2 and just select that new backup device that I created. Save that, and that job is going to be good. So you can recreate any backup, any online device whenever you need to. You just want to make sure that you're going to start backing up to that with your previously existing backup sets. One of the tweaks or tips that I would give you with your online backup device is to move um, the temporary cache folders or the temporary internet file folders. The way you do that is to open up the online device, click on the Advanced tab, and select the button that says Move the Folder. You want to move these guys as close to the root of the hard drive as you possibly can. We've seen in some cases a 32-bit operating system has a limit to the number of characters that can be in a file name and path. We've seen cases where users will name a Word document, for example, something that's got 1,000 characters, and while it works okay where they're saving it, when we go to cache that file, if we're caching it in a file name that's 20, 30, 40 characters long, sometimes that additional 30, 40, 50 characters can be enough to exceed the limit that the operating system can handle, and we see errors. So what we like to do is move the cache file as close to the root of the hard drive as we can. I went out to the C drive and created a couple of folders, the BlueSky device cache and a BlueSky system cache. There are 2 cache folders that it keeps, and they cannot both live in the same spot. They'll give you an error if you try to put them in the same spot. So you have to have 2 different locations. They can both be on the same hard drive, although they don't have to be, but they do have to be in 2 separate locations. Click OK. It's going to ask me, do I want to move it? I'm going to click yeah. If I had been backing up for a while, and this is something you can do at any time, if I had been backing up for a while, moving all of that data could take a while. So it may not be as quick as you just saw there. It may take 45 minutes, an hour, or more, depending on how much data you've got. So be patient with it. Let it finish. I assure you that it'll be done. Go get a cup of coffee and come back if you've been backing up for a while and your cache file is rather sizable. I would caution against clicking on the empty folder, because that's going to completely recreate your cache file, and it's also going to trigger most often a full backup. So it's going to want to back up everything once you delete that cache folder, because it doesn't know what's already been backed up. So it's going to assume that nothing has and resend everything. And backing up online, if you've got a sizable backup set, that could take a while. So I would caution you against emptying the folder. Move it if you can. Another gotcha is going to be if that gives you an error that the file is in use, it may be that you're doing a backup job. Maybe you didn't realize that a backup job was running long, or maybe one was scheduled for the same time you're working on it. You click on the Status tab and see if anything is going on this screen, because you will not be able to move that device cache until that backup job ends. So that's just kind of a gotcha. There's a second location for the cache file, and you get to there by clicking on the Home tab, going to Settings, selecting Default Settings, and then Advanced Options. Again, Home, Settings, Default Settings, and Advanced Options. And for the sake of brevity, I went ahead and moved that beforehand to the BlueSky System Cache folder. What I will do is show you, if we try to move it to the Device Cache folder, it's going to give you an error saying that, hey, you can't set it there. You got to set it someplace else. Since I didn't move it, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel, and we should be good to go. Another thing to keep in mind, though, is you may not see those two changes reflected until you close the GUI and open it back up. Okay, the last thing that I would give you, the last piece of advice about a device, would be the fact that the device, the cache files that a device uses, can grow to 2 to 2.5 times, sometimes more, of your backup file set. Let me explain that again. Let's say that you're backing up that you've got an online backup job that's 1 gig in size. Your cache folder will grow to 2 to 2.5 times that 1 gig, so about 2.5 gigs. You want to move those cache folders to a hard drive that has ample room to accommodate it. Again, it's going to depend on how big your backup set is, but you want to have 2 to 2.5 times the amount of free space that your backup job uses. Reason being, it creates a cache folder on Monday, it creates a cache folder on Tuesday, it compares the two, and then that's what it sends to the data center. So your cache files can grow a rather large sometimes, depending on your backup set. So just be aware of that and make sure that you put that on a hard drive. Put your cache files on a hard drive with plenty of room to work. That's all we're going to go over for devices. What is a device? Where do we put it? What does it do? I hope that answered your questions. If you have any others, feel free to give us a call. That's why we're here to help, and I hope you learned something today.